Are you going to go suck Prince Charles' nipple?
Oh, God.
It's all hairy.
Wrinkly. It's probably like just flopping around.
Oh, it's so inbred. What if his nipple's just his face again?
What if he has 3 and it's like in a weird location?
Which one do you suck? The third nipple? Oh my God.
Welcome to Scary Mystery Surprise,
where we talk about scary things that surprised us around the internet.
I'm Edwin.
I'm Michelle. So you guys may or may not know, I just took a 3-week-long vacation to Ireland. I was gone for quite some time, but I've come back with a lot of weird little stories and little tidbits and little treasures of the macabre.
Ooh.
So today, I'm going to talk about something that is gruesome but ancient and confusing. Definitely be categorized as a murder mystery, and I've called it the murder mystery of the bog baddies.
Love it. Okay.
Oh, thank you. I guess it could be the murder mystery of the bog body baddies. It could be that too. That's like really specific as well. Although my brother, I think this might be suspect, says he caught an orb when he was taking a photo of those bog bodies. He's like, see, there's nothing here. And then there's something here. But I'll post that on the Instagram. So, you guys be the judge of whether my brother actually caught an orb.
Sounds like you don't believe your own brother.
These Bronze Age bodies, they're under glass. Wrong angle, you're catching a light from the ceiling. I don't know. I find it suspect. But let the audience decide.
Help us decide.
Help us decide if my brother actually caught a spirit or a ceiling light. So anyway, we'll start today's show. Edwin, you're a farmer in England. Well, a peat cutter, which is kind of like a farmer. So, do you know what peat is?
No. What?
Edwin, it's the 1980s and you're cutting peat in the Lindo Moss bogs in England. So, what does a peat bog you say?
What is a peat? What is a bog?
What is a peat? What is a bog? So a bog is created when a lake gets filled with plant material that's in a constant state of decay. So it's kind of like just a really filled in lake. And then peat grows there and is used for fuel and composting.
Nice. Okay.
And so like a lot of so Ireland and Scotland and England and a lot of like the northern countries in Europe have used peat for like fuel for a long time. They like go in, they cut it into like kind of bricks and they dry it and they use it to cook and heat your house with.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
I get a really strong visual of that.
Maybe it's a past life. Maybe you were a peat farmer, a peat miller. I think it's actually called a peat miller. It's strange, but yeah, it's like this machine. They used to do it by hand. They'd go in and cut pieces of peat, and now they have a big machine. Bogs are wonderful places. They are also great places to sequester carbon. In this rapidly heating world, bogs are a necessary thing. Anyway, you're in your peat bog. As a peat bog miller, that's what you're doing in the 80s. This is your calling. This is what you've always, your father was a peat miller. You're a peat miller. Your grandfather was a great peat miller. Anyway, you're peat milling the field. Or you're peat milling the bog.
Okay. What am I wearing, by the way, in this scenario?
Well, you definitely have some high waterproof boots on because bogs are quite muddy and potentially you could sink in a bog. So you have your mud boots. You have your mud boots on. Probably a raincoat since it rains pretty much every day in these areas. As I learned while I was in Ireland, it will be sunny. It will rain. It will all of a sudden be a gale. All of a sudden, it will be sunny again. So it's all of those. And it'll be super humid all of a sudden. All of those things. And then there'll be a rainbow. So anyway, that's the weather you're in. And it's all oscillating really quickly. So you're using your tool in the bog to harvest peat. And then all of a sudden, your tool hits something in the spongy ground. You look. What is it? A dinosaur egg, you think?
Duh.
No, you fool. It's a skull. Of course, you being a law-abiding citizen, the police are called. And it just so happens nearby where the skull was found, there is someone who is a person of interest. The police are pretty sure your neighbor, Peter Rain Bart, had done something horrible to his wife, but they couldn't do anything about it without a body. Now it seemed they had a skull, thanks to your peat farming.
You're welcome. But that sucks.
Confronted with the remains, Rain Bart confessed to killing and dismembering his wife, then scattering what was left of her in the nearby bogs.
Why? Why do people do that?
I don't know. But that's a true story. That's true.
Oh, what?
Yeah, that's true.
Michelle, I thought you were making this up because the name is so like, what? Oh, okay.
No, this is true. And it was only at his trial, scientists revealed that the skull they had found that they thought was his wife actually dated back to Roman era Britain.
So he confessed?
He confessed, but then it turns out there wasn't a body. But thanks to his confession, he got a life sentence.
See, this is why you don't say anything.
Uh-huh.
Or just keep going with it and say that your wife lived back then and just say that you're a weirdo that, yeah, like that was my wife.
I married a time traveler.
There you go. And just claim psychological issues or whatever and just stay home.
I marry time travelers. I'm really into time travelers. What can I say? I love Britain, pre-Roman era Britain.
Did they ever find the wife, though?
I don't think so, actually. But a year later, you're back working in the bog again. You unearth what initially you thought was the remains of the missing woman. But once again, it turns out, surprise, it's another ancient bog body. And that one became known as Lindau Man, which is like one of the oldest, best preserved bodies anybody's found.
Wow. Okay. So this guy turned anthropologist, or no, what do you call those people that find bones and mummies and stuff? Indiana Jonesy.
Oh, yeah, an archaeologist. He became an archaeologist. Yeah, no, you're right. You were right. It was an archaeologist.
Did I say anthropologist?
You did, but also that's like the show Bones, because she's an anthropologist, I think. Is she?
Michelle, I don't know anything.
That's fair.
It's a school system. That's what I blame.
Like, I get it. I also was a victim of the school system as well.
Like right now when you said about all those countries in the northern part of Europe or whatever you said, I have no idea what countries you were talking about. I just went with it.
Specifically, bog bodies are found in Ireland, England, Scotland, the Netherlands, Germany, Sweden, and I think Norway.
Wow.
Like all in that area, kind of that weather. So I was just in Ireland, and the bog bodies are fascinating. I mean, and there's a free exhibit at the Irish Museum. So if you're ever in Dublin, you just can pop in there and see these. So who and why were people in the Bronze Age putting dead human bodies in bogs?
I was just going to ask that, yeah.
Were they murdered? Was it sacrifice? The truth about bog bodies is pretty shocking. What is a bog body? So the bodies have commonly been found in Northern European countries, although some have actually been found in Florida, which I thought was just a random fact. That's like sidebar.
What?
Like Native Americans had put bodies in bogs, but because those bogs have a composition that's less acidic, so they have less debris in it, and there's more oxygen, they aren't as well preserved. So they usually are just skin and bones that are left, which is not quite as phenomenal as the European. The fact that these European bog bodies are from the Iron Age and they're mistaken for modern murder victims.
Oh, yeah. They must be really, well preserved.
It really speaks to like how this, like what is going on. But bog bodies are no accident. They are usually quite gruesome. And of course, it's possible that some simply just happen to die in the right place at the right time to be preserved, of course, like dinosaurs or whatever. But most bodies were put there on purpose, tied up, and staked in place.
Okay, I was not expecting that.
Yeah. And why on earth would you do that?
It's the kidnappers. They were the criminals.
Well, that's a theory, actually. That is a theory. But it's speculated that bogs aren't just useless patches of very wet land. For thousands of years, they've been invaluable sources of turf, which is like a turf house, fuel. That's used as fuel in many countries, and ancient people would also use it as building material. That alone made it important to a community's survival. And it was a bit more than that, too. In some areas, bogs were seen as mysterious places where the veil between the human and divine were thin. Scores of offerings have been recovered from bogs, including things like jewelry, pottery, tools, and remains of sacrificed animals. Bogs were long thought by some to be the home of ghostly creatures seen dancing across open expanses of land.
Oh, I just got chills.
Which I think, if you've seen the movie Princess Bride, which you see like the fire swamp or whatever. So those things, that stuff dancing across the lights that people would see, now today we know are caused by bursts of gas. But it's surreal enough that it's easy to see why ancient people thought that bogs were like magical places. Bogs are cool, man. Bogs are cool. Maybe tourism 2024, bogs. It's their year.
Yeah, it sounds like, I mean, back then, it's to me, it sounds more like one of those areas where just magic happens. Like when like an enchanted forest or like a...
I mean, it would make sense that it would be a sacred area. Like people would be like, oh, this is really sacred.
Yeah.
So, okay. So bog bodies, some are extraordinary in their nearly lifelike appearance, like the body named the Old Krogan Man, who I like to call Crop Top, because he's just...
Michelle sent me these pictures, you guys. Like, and when she said that, I was like...
You know the exact one I'm talking about.
I'm losing it. I said they look like Slim Jims, and then you're like, this is a crop top one.
So my favorite, who I saw in person, his official name is Old Krogan Man, but I call him Crop Top. He was found in Ireland in 2003, not far from a site linked to the crowning of ancient kings. And that's important. Archaeologists suggest he was likely a king himself.
Ooh.
So he was exquisitely preserved, but only from his neck to his waist. But he still has his arms, and he has very well manicured fingernails, indicating he'd never done any manual labor. You see the nails, you could see like the little half moon on the nails too. Like, it's really fascinating. He lived sometime between 362 and 175 BC. He stood around 6 feet, 6.5 feet tall. He was discovered with an amulet depicting the sun, a symbol of kingship.
Ooh.
Also, he has another symbol of kingship removed before or after his death because his nipples were cut off. And it was a thing where at that time, in order to show loyalty to the king, you'd have to go suck his nipple. So...
Are you making this up?
No, I literally saw a docent talking about it. She was giving a tour. She was like, his nipples have been cut off because it was pretty typical for kings to have to... You had to suck the king's nipple in order to show loyalty to the king. Look, I don't know. I wasn't alive back then. I don't know why that made sense.
They could have just been pulling your leg, Michelle.
I don't know. She was definitely walking around telling people that. She definitely worked there.
She said it with a straight face?
Oh, yeah. It was definitely... She was a real docent giving a tour, so... But anyway, this guy had his nipples cut off.
I don't want to be disrespectful to the king, especially King Crop Top.
I know, King Crop Top. But also, like, maybe this is why men have nipples, is because they had to get them sucked in order to be kings.
Because that is an age-old question. Why do men have nipples? Here, for example, they have these little statues with like an Inca guy with like a huge penis, as in like his size, like I said, his height.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
like, you've seen them, right? Like they're little things, they're just big old thing just sticking out. And I'm like, and that's normal. Like you see little kids like, hey, look, and then just put it back down.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, why do they do that? I mean, each place has its own thing, right? Like,
I mean, they don't like suck nipples for King. I mean, like no one's sucking King Charles's nipple. You know what I mean?
you have to like unbutton your shirt.
God, his weird inbred body. Anyway, King Crop Top. He also died. He died badly. Let's be honest. He died pretty badly by not just having his nipples removed. He had holes bored into his arms and was restrained with stakes. Then he was strangled, stabbed, and drowned. And they can tell that all because his organs and like his body is so well preserved that they can tell. It's fascinating.
Does he still have his stomach and stuff? Like,
I think so. I think they were able to figure out what he had eaten at that point. I know with the other ones they've had. And they think, according to experts, because it was 3 methods, strangled, stabbed, and drowned, they think it was a reference to the 3. There's like 3 aspects of the goddess the sacrifice was dedicated to. So fertility, war, sovereignty. Also, if things were going bad for a community, it was thought that the king would often sacrifice himself in order to save his people. So that's like what Bronze Age is like.
wow. So noble.
It's so noble, right? Like, why can't our king sacrifice?
I know. Our president.
Our president cut off his own nipples and sacrifice himself. Jumping into a bog.
The economy is failing.
That's what I want all of our world leaders to do. Is cut their nipples off and jump into bogs.
They're like, oh no, we have to go to war. We don't want that for our people.
Bog.
Go down to Florida. There you go.
Yeah, I know. We do have bogs in Florida, so everyone could do it.
We have no excuse why.
We have no excuse why we can't do it. Anyway, there's another one that I saw in person that was interesting. And I don't know if I sent you this one, but it was like, he has no arms. He's like a torso, but he has a head. He just has a head of red hair.
I think you showed me that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that one's name is the Clony Caveman. ClonyCaveman. So.
Is it this one?
Yeah, that one. That's the one we're talking about. It's got kind of a Conan pompadour going on.
Yeah. Pretty cool. I didn't know that was hair until you pointed out just now. I thought that was like a hat.
No, that's hair. And it's like, that's the most famous thing about him because he has product in his hair.
What?
He has like a hair pomade in it that is like from Spain or France. It was like imported. It's like pine resin and vegetable oil.
Wow.
Isn't that cool? It's such like a random thing. And also he's missing his bottom half, possibly due to a peat cutting machine. Like they think he was probably damaged when they were digging him up on accident.
Oh, okay. Like after did they ever find his legs?
I don't think so. But also he's probably not actually a redhead because the bog chemical turns everyone's hair red. So all the bog bodies have red hair.
Is that why Irish people?
Because of the bogs? No, I don't think. I don't think so. But maybe it's because of bogs.
Maybe something in the water.
Maybe. But anyway, so I'll just call him Conan. So Conan with the hair, with the pompadour, is so well preserved, they can tell what killed him. And it looks like it was an axe to his skull and face because there's like, it's been broken open by a blow. They can tell.
At the top, like I can kind of see it where the hairline starts.
Yeah. So you can see the wound there, and it's a flap of skin, which is typical of a lacerated wound. And it's like 2 lacerated wounds joined together.
I also see the hole in between his eyes or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, nobody died well in a bog.
When you first started talking about these, I thought like, they would go in and maybe by accident, they just drown like quicksand and then that's it.
Yeah. You think of I think of the dinosaur stepping in tar or something like that, like that casual thing. But no, of course there might be like a fluke out there where it's like, oh, someone just fell in. But it really seems like all the ones specifically from the Iron Age are all this. There is like another example of girl that was found in like this from the 1600s or something like that. And she's just wrapped in a shawl. And they just speculate that they're murder victims. People from the Iron Age are clearly been killed. Were they killed willingly or against their will? We don't know. But anyone else is usually a murder victim.
Jeez.
But now I'll talk about the most famous bog body, which I didn't see, which is not on display in Ireland because it's from the Netherlands. But it's pretty iconic. And I remember specifically seeing Tulland Man in a Scholastic. Do you remember those Scholastic magazines where they... I remember specifically seeing one with Tulland Man in it. And it was like they had Ötzi and they had Tulland Man. And I got Ötzi and Tulland Man confused for a long time, but Ötzi doesn't really have like facial features anymore. So, but anyway, Tulland Man. And then I remember seeing Tulland Man in a Scholastic magazine in 6th grade and thinking he had the most kissable lips.
I love that magazine, by the way. I used to see it too at the dentist.
I know.
Yeah, it was cool stuff. Yeah.
But anyway, Tulland Man lived in the 5th century BC. And during that period in Scandinavia, in the pre-Roman Iron Age, and he was found in 1950, preserved as a bog body in Denmark. And his facial features were so well preserved, he was mistaken for a recent murder victim. And honestly, if you pull up, I'll post a photo of him, but if you pull up a photo of him right now, he's got a face.
How do you spell it?
It's Tollund. Tulland. UND.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, they got us blurred by safe search. I wonder why.
What? Really? I mean, it is just a head.
Oh, wow. This is like a real, like just a person, like sleeping.
Yeah, he looks like he's peacefully sleeping.
That's nice.
Well, he was hanged.
Oh, I can see the rope.
Yeah, they left the rope on him.
That's a nice rope, though.
It's made from animal, like leather. So it's a nice rope.
Wow.
But yes, his cause of death was determined to be hanging. Scholars believe the man was a human sacrifice rather than an executed criminal because of the arranged position of his body. His eyes were closed and his mouth was closed, and he was in the fetal position. He wore a pointed skin cap with sheepskin and wool, a smooth hide belt on his waist, and additionally, a noose made of plaited animal hide was drawn around his neck and trailed down his back. Other than that, the body was naked. His hair was cropped so short as to be hidden under his cap. There was short stubble on his chin and upper lip, which you can see in the photos, suggesting he was normally clean shaven, but had not shaven the day of his death. The Tulland Man was approximately 40 years old. His last meal consisted of porridge with barley, flax, wild weed seed, and some fish.
Oh, wow.
And examinations and x-rays showed that his heart, lungs, and liver were well preserved and healthy. So he was strangled. That way, like there was nothing else wrong with him. And he was about 5'3", relatively short in stature, although it is likely that his body shrunk in the bog. And both feet and the right thumb were so well preserved by the peat, they were actually able to make a fingerprint from his thumb. And it's the oldest fingerprint on record by the Danish police. And then I also wrote thumbprint of one of the oldest thumbprints, but also the most kissable lips.
Well, if they clone him, did you get to see the recreation? This is your boyfriend.
Oh, look at him. Look at him. There's my boyfriend right there. Kissable lips. Kissable lips.
If they ever clone him, call us up.
Yeah, if they ever clone him, that's my guy right there.
Sorry, I just saw another angle of his face. It looks like when you wake up. Like when you wake up after
your face is just smushed on the pillow. Oh, poor guy.
Yeah, I feel bad for him, but that's cool that it's been preserved and what he ate. Like that's a really healthy meal.
Isn't that like that's what you got from that?
I mean, if they were to look us up now, it's just like, yeah, he had some French fries and some nuggets.
And then some plastic.
Some jalapeno poppers.
Yeah.
From freaking, what's it, Whole Foods?
Whole Foods jalapeno poppers. God, if those fossilize in my guts, that's something. That is something.
I'd be so confused. They're like, what is this type of delicacy only available to the Whole Foods crowd, which is the upper middle class.
Yeah. But still like the worst trash food. It's just, for some reason, they think it's better for them, but it's still just the same.
It's vegetable and dairy fried delicacy. I like that. Like, he had a really, seriously though, that's a healthy meal. Like fish.
And it's healthy.
Whatever that else stuff, seeds and all that.
Porridge or whatever. Yeah, he did. Well, I mean, he was probably like royalty or a king of some sort. That is, the theory is that they were sacrificed, kingly sacrificed. And then the other theory is they committed brutal crimes and this was their punishment. But it seems a little...
One or the other, like what?
Yeah, like it's just like, I don't know. It seems a little... it doesn't... This is far too much effort to just do for a criminal.
Yeah, like criminals, they don't get, like, I'm pretty sure they would not be shaven clean, put in the fetal position. But, and they found a mummy. Was it in the Andes? Was it? I don't know if it was Peruvian, but like she was very well preserved. And they think that she was a sacrifice too, because she was wearing clothes, but like she was in the fetal position and very well preserved. And I think it was because of the sacrifice thing. So it would make sense. It might just be like a sacrifice or a king or royalty or somebody, where you want them to stay like that forever.
And then another theory is that if it's a sacrifice, it's also like every single one that they've found has like they found one with dwarfism. They found one with scoliosis. Crop Top is 6 feet tall. That's really unusual for that time.
How do you know that without his legs, Michelle? Like, is it from arm
They
span?
must have figured it out. I don't know how they figured it out, but they're like, he's over 6 feet tall. Like, that's it. Like, everyone's saying that even though he has no legs and no head. Also, it seems like his head was cut off too. They'd cut his head off as well. But yeah, and then our Tolan man is like 5'3". And so it's like there's, were they sacrificing people that were different? Like apparently they found bog bodies with like 6 fingers on each hand. So like people that were a little bit different, were they sacrificed to the gods? We don't know.
Ooh, so that's a theory. Wow.
The bodies are so well preserved that we generally know how they died. The theory that these were sacrificed, kingly sacrifice, or they had committed brutal crimes, or they could have just committed the crime of being different, too tall, too short, dwarfism, scoliosis, an extra finger, are all things that people have found on bog bodies. It's interesting that we'll generally know the how, thanks to the preservation from the bogs. We know the cause, but we'll only ever be able to guess the why.
Oh, man. That's beautiful. So it could be like the victims they could have just been bullied and like, haha, you're short. We're going to sacrifice you.
Yeah.
Or like, they say they try to keep a perfect society. It's like, oh, You don't have red hair? Sacrifice.
Yeah.
Or, I don't know, you're too tall.
Yeah, you're too tall, even though you're the king. We'll see. We'll get rid of you.
Doesn't matter. No exceptions. Give me those nipples. There you go.
I think that's a perfect note to end on. Be sure to rate and subscribe. Leave us little notes. We love little notes.
Yeah, please.
Reviews. We love it all.
Yeah, and they help with our rankings, and we're trying to beat some of our competition.
If you love us, leave a little rating.
Leave a little love.
Leave a little love.
We want stars, and they're free, so just drop them. It was 5.
Yep.
Just 5, please.
Just 5, please.
No 4s. Just give us 5.
Yeah, just 5s. That's all we want.
Yeah, please.
But anyway, if you got a story and you want to write in and tell us about it, we love hearing about it. People DM me a lot of stories all the time, which is great.
Yeah. Also, by the way, you guys, here's another surprise to Scary Mystery Surprise. Michelle is launching a very cool show. And just tell them, Michelle, tell them.
Well, it's called Tell Me a Ghost Story, but I need your help because I need people to tell me a ghost story by calling into my ghost story hotline, which is 1 US, the US code, 1-701-484-2666.
Boom. Tell us a ghost story. I'm going to be telling one on there.
Oh, yeah.
Be part of it, you guys. Be part of the very first. This is probably going to get in if your story's good.
But yeah, call in. It's just a voicemail. 1-701-484-2666.
So cool. So yeah, you can find that podcast by searching for it, right? So if you just follow now, like look for Tell Me a Ghost Story by Newman Media.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right.
Yeah.
Head over there.
Head over there. So subscribe. Get ready. I think the show will come out at the end of August.
Yeah, be some of the first. You guys, this is the most exciting times, I think, for a podcast. The very, very first, like,
I think so too. It's so exciting. It's always so fun. But yeah, you guys, help me out.
Let's go.
Anyway, what are we going to talk about next week, Edwin?
I don't know. I think it'll be a surprise.
Yeah. Bye, guys.